Did you guys know that Micro Center does pre-builts? You should. We've actually featured them in the past. We even built a computer at Micro Center once. You guys should go and check that video out if you haven't. But today we're taking a look at their new top-of-the-line PowerSpec system. Yes, PowerSpec is their in-house brand. This is their brand new G467 gaming PC, their first high-end featuring a 30 series graphics card. You might have noticed we didn't actually do an unboxing of it. It's because we had to kind of preemptively do an unboxing, not on camera, just to make sure it arrived okay, because although you can see it's got the nice squishy foam, because FedEx was not kind to our box. This literally looks like someone's foot went through here, but you as a consumer won't have to worry about FedEx doing this because this is an in-store item only. They're not gonna actually be shipping it to you. So the idea of FedEx having a chance of damaging your product is null and void at this point. Specs on this one though, it is a, let's see if I can remember it. It's a 10900KF i9 processor from Intel. It's a Z490 ASUS Strix motherboard, the ASUS 3080 Tough series. It's got a 1TB NVMe SSD. It's got a Cooler Master, AIO. It's got 2 in-wing front fans on there, and it is also running a PowerSpec power supply. Oh, 32 gigabytes of DDR4. What brand is it though? Oh, G-Skill. It looks like two 16 gigabyte sticks. It's got Wi-Fi 6 because it's built into the motherboard. It's got a 2.5G Ethernet NIC built into it. And yeah, that's pretty much that. So let's go ahead and open this up, take a look at the cable management and all that sort of stuff. Then we'll fire it up and we'll do some temperature testing because I'm kind of curious as to how this chassis does. When it comes to like full-on benchmarking though, these are parts that have been out for a bit. Now the nice thing about PowerSpec is this is obviously their top of the line. It's featuring top of the line Intel, that's at least at the time making this video. It's got top of the line 3080 graphics in there, which we know are hard to get your hands on. So you might be going, Jay, why are you even talking about this when you can't even get your hands on a 3080? Well, they do have other systems that also include 2070 Supers, 10700KFs. So there are options. It's not just this one PowerSpec PC. So that's what happens when you have one of the, quite honestly, in my opinion, one of the best PC parts retailers in the world. I mean, if you haven't been to a Micro Center, you've never been to a PC store. You might think you have, but you haven't. I can't tell you how many people tweet me and go, I went to Micro Center for the first time and oh my God, I was a kid in a candy store. The build your own section alone, every single part you can imagine on the shelf. And soon 30 series graphics cards because, you know, availability. So here's what the backside looks like. You can see that all the cables are bundled together nicely. Zip tied right here, out of the way, so you can't really see them from the front. They are ketchup and mustard cables, but that is what it is, right? I would like to see those being black cables, but I think at the end of the day, most people are just gonna be like, show me the FPS, and that's exactly what you're getting with this system. On the front side, I'm not sure if you can really see it, there is an anti-sag bracket in there that is giving this graphics card support. It uses the motherboard screw mounts. It just gives you an adjustable height rubber tab that takes the weight of the end of the card. That way you're not putting all of the weight on the PCIe slot. You've got your Cooler Master AIO. It is a 240. It is using their RGB fans. We've got 2 RGB fans for in-wing on the front. You can add a rear fan to this if you want. Plug it into your motherboard. On the front, like I said, there are 2 in-wing, or Lee and, I said them in-wing fans earlier. They're Lee and Lee fans. What an idiot, Jay. You can add a third one here if you want. The problem is the drive cage is sort of in the way. So unless you remove that drive cage, which is removable, you can see the screws right here. There's no drives in there right now, but you could add drives to this, either 2.5 or 3.5 inch drives. You've got 2 2.5 inch drive expandable slots right here on the back as well, or you can put things like control modules for like RGB, like Corsairs, Commander. But I think 2 240 intakes on the front are gonna be plenty. We'll see if this perforation's enough for airflow. But let's go ahead and fire it up right now and take a look at some temperature testing. So 66C is where we've topped out on our 3080 Tough inside of the PowerSpec case. Stock fan curve, didn't touch anything, didn't touch the system fans. This is just out of the box, plugged in, ran superposition 1080p Extreme. You might be wondering why 1080p Extreme and not a different resolution, because that's the hardest test to run on superposition. I don't know what it is about it that makes it extreme, but it's harder to run than 4K. So 66 is where it ended. Our CPU, as you can see, is sitting in the 50s, 50C, 51C, it drops down to like 46 in between the tests. So it's actually doing really well. And I love the fact that they chose the 3080 Tough. I'm not sure if that's the card that's always gonna be in there for this exact variant, but I can tell you that the Tough Edition card is probably one of the best AIB experiences that you can get in terms of graphics, because it's extremely cool, it's extremely quiet. It's got some of the best boost bin maintenance out there, in that it's going to maintain over 1900 pretty much all the time. The lowest we see it goes like 1875, and it always comes right back up. And that's with the stock fan curve. If you bump up the fan curve and give it more RPM and a little bit more noise, it runs even faster and stays more like 1950. And it's got just the right amount of RGB. It's not like super gaudy, it's just the right amount. It's important to note though, this is on the performance BIOS and not the quiet BIOS, which is kind of ironic because we cannot hear it in this case whatsoever. So if we put it on the quiet BIOS, that's gonna make it have even less fan curve to it, which could bring the boost clocks down a little bit, but the way it is on the performance is exactly the way it should be in my opinion. But we need to see how the real gaming performance is here. So I'm thinking maybe what we'll do is we'll install Control, which is a game that uses all the RTX functionality, which is exactly what you would want with a 30 series card. And we'll see what the performance and temps and stuff are like with that. All right, so this is Control. We're using it as a control for temperature testing and stuff. So this game is an RTX title that uses all of the technologies. So we're talking about global illumination, we're talking about reflections, we're talking about the fact that you can get reflections on things that are transparent. Reflections, these little file cabinets or whatever, on transparent object. That's actually pretty hard to do. Phil was playing, that's why everything's all broken here. I was on the phone, and it's been running for at least 30 minutes, just like we saw in our superposition test. The temperatures at 65C on the graphics card, 99% utilized and staying over 1900 megahertz. CPU also staying well under its TJ max of 105. And the FPS, you can see what resolution are we at here? 1440p?
1440, no DLSS.
No DLSS. Okay, so this is native resolution, 1440p.
Everything maxed.
Everything maxed RTX. Let me go find a bad guy. Okay.
Oh, you got the rocket.
I caught it from the other guy. Dude, the FPS on this though is doing so well. Look at the temperature. It's like not budging at all. That's the best part about it. All right, so let's talk about the PowerSpec G467 and whether or not this is the right PC for you. After all that gaming session, if you will, there's not that much heat coming out this back vent right here. If there was, then that would tell us that these fans aren't doing enough in exhausting, because that would mean the front fans are creating a positive pressure situation where air would be being pushed out the back. But it's clear that the same amount of air coming in the front is pretty much making its way out the top. Now I was curious about whether or not if I took off this dust filter, if it would lower the temperatures because of higher airflow, because I can feel the air coming out right here. However, I took it off earlier and let it sit without this on for a while, and it did not come down at all, neither the CPU or the GPU. So might as well just leave it on at that point. That way dust when the system is off can't fall down onto it. Plus, if you have a cat or whatever that likes to lay on here because of the warmth, at least the fur won't make it down into the system. It looks like this chassis is also based off of a Lee & Lee case. So you're gonna get that sort of quality built into it, given the fact that it is a known brand like Lee & Lee. It's obviously a collaboration with PowerSpec. And you know, I said it earlier, some of you might be wondering why we're talking about a 30 series card based system when you can't even get it. Well, that's because PowerSpec comes in all sorts of different specs. That's why it's a PowerSpec. No, seriously, you can trust a brand like Micro Center, who deals with retail parts sales, to know what parts are probably the best to use to build these systems, because they know the RMA returns, they know the returns of customers that aren't happy, they know what products sell the most, they know the brands that they work with, who has a better warranty, all that sort of stuff. So clearly this is built with, I don't even want to call it no frills, because it does have RGB, it does have a name brand card, it does have a name brand motherboard, name brand memory. Everything in this is name brand. The only nitpick I can really make is the cables on the power supply. And that's because they're the ketchup and mustard, not just all black cables. But if you're the kind of person that's like, I don't want to pay for a bunch of extra nonsense that I don't need, I don't want to pay for extra above the performance that I want, then this is probably the perfect type of build for you to go with. You can't really go any higher in terms of Intel mainstream CPU, at least as of right now, because 11th gen isn't out yet. You can't really go any higher on the graphics card and still have it make sense cost-wise. The 3080 is giving you a huge bang for the buck. A 3090, although faster, is not really any sort of a bargain or doesn't make any sort of money sense. 32 gigs of RAM, so you're never gonna run out of RAM in any sort of gaming situation. You can use this system to live stream. You can use this system to create videos. You can work on it, and it gives you room for expansion. You can add more cooling to this if you want. You can add more storage to it if you want. It really doesn't have any compromises in terms of the components picked for it. So once again, a huge thank you to Micro Center for sending this to us for us to take a look at. I don't do a lot of SI or system integrator reviews on this channel because I definitely am a build your own, but I'm always willing to do stuff like that from Micro Center and other brands that I think bring something unique, because Micro Center is also a build your own store where you can obviously go and buy your favorite parts, build your own system, have them build it for you if you want. But I understand not everyone is comfortable with building their own computer, and they would much rather just buy one, have a warranty, and somewhere to go if they need it worked on. And that's perfectly okay too. As long as we have more people gaming and more people on PC, then I think we can keep the amazing platform that is PC gaming just continuing to grow, because it's growing faster than it ever has before. So if you guys want to learn more about Power Spec and the available different builds from Micro Center, then head down to the description box below, expand it. You guys will find links where you can go and check out Micro Center's Power Spec stuff and everything Micro Center has to offer. Thanks for watching, guys, and as always, we'll see you in the next one. This is it's FedEx. Ow! Oh, shit. I just did the dog bone thing where they don't fit through the door because FedEx was not kind. Ow! Do that again.